So, okay, so look, people are starting to join. That's great. So,
welcome everyone.
Yes, welcome indeed. So, just as just by way of introduction, last week we saw that it was Admin Professional Appreciation Week, and
yeah, it was.
Yeah, and we came up with this idea where we would kind of speak to lots of PAs and shine a bit of a spotlight and what have you. And for those that follow our company, Strictly Recruitment, we do a thing called Shine the Spotlight, where we get people who have done really well in their profession and have a chat with them and post it on our website. We thought it would be a really good idea to do a bit of a kind of live session with people, and we launched that last week. People really enjoyed it. The people we had on had lots to say, and there were so many people that I wanted to speak to. It was just, I decided to kind of keep it going because the response has been really good. Danielle has been very much one of those people that I've been keen to get on here because I followed her story and seen the bits and pieces that she's been doing, and you know, her career and where she's got and the awards that she's won are quite inspirational to a lot of PAs and EAs. So it's a story that I think everybody's going to be really interested in. So these conversations are really just chilled out, down to earth. We keep it for kind of half an hour or so. We give people the opportunity to ask some questions if people want to. So feel free to kind of pop them in the chat box and we'll come back to them at the end. But look, this isn't about me. This is all about Danielle. So we'll go straight over to you, Danielle. So if we could perhaps start off by kind of giving us a bit of an overview of how you started your career and how you came to become an EA, and you know, what you did, you know, at the beginning of your career, basically.
Yeah, of course. So welcome everyone. Hopefully you hear us all clearly. Seems like it. Thank you for tuning in. So I started my career actually straight from school. I went and worked at a mortgage broker's, and it was actually just very different back then. So it was just a job advertised in the local paper, and I applied for that, got it, knew nothing about mortgages, nothing about really what I wanted to do, but it was a local job. So I sort of fell into it. And it was through there that I really learned about sort of working in an office. I ended up being PA to the founder of the mortgage company, and I learned a lot about mortgages. I actually started to do my mortgage qualifications, to give advice to clients. So it was really nice because I kind of got to run the office, but also the client side of things. So it kind of gave me a lot of interesting things to get on with. And it's a small office, which I always found helpful in the beginning, if I'm honest, for me, because it meant I had to do a lot of managing the contracts for IT and for phones and all the kind of things of running a small office. You have to get involved in everything. If the printer broke, it was my fault, kind of thing. If the phone was down, it was for me to deal with. So I feel like it gave me a really good foundation for a lot of things. And then, I started doing my mortgage qualifications, and then the mortgage market crashed. So I was kind of out of a job and out of a career as well. So probably a lot of you will remember when the market crashed, it was quite bad. So then I decided to get a job up in London. I thought, okay, I'll stop doing something local. I'll go up to London. And I was very much of the understanding that because I had done something local and small, I would kind of have to start from the bottom again and work back up. So I got a job at a investment bank. I started off as a receptionist there, and then I ended up being PA to the CEO within quite a short amount of time. But unfortunately, the company folded, and because I was one of the last people in, I was obviously one of the first people out. So I found myself again without a job. And so I thought, okay, I've done quite a lot of industry things now, and I knew quite a lot about the regulator, which at the time was the Financial Services Authority, just because I'd been dealing with finance always. And so I thought for stability, that would be a good way to go, because I know that we're always going to need regulation. So I literally went on the website, applied for a role. I actually didn't get the job that I applied for, which was just a basic administrator role. They offered me a 6-month contract doing records management, which basically meant scanning, filing, shredding. basically.
Yeah.
Which obviously was not what I wanted to do, but I thought, I know what I can do, I know my capabilities. So I took the job because I thought, I know I'm not going to be there 6 months. I just need to show people what I can do. Sometimes, for me, I'm better at demonstrating than I am at interviewing, possibly. So, so I took a job at the Financial Services Authority for my 6-month contract, and I ended up being there 10 years and working for the chairman.
Wow.
Years, 6 years, I think now. So yeah, my kind of jump paid off, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And, once I was there, I did my contract. I ended up working on a team. I was there for about another probably 6 to 8 months, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I've always worked at a senior level. I always wanted to work with really the heads of the organisation. That's where I find my interest lies. So a job came up in the CEO office that I applied for, which I got.
Yeah.
And I ended up being more of an assistant to the CEO's chief of staff. That was my role. And it was just through that I ended up doing a lot more in the CEO office. I would cover for his PA when she was on leave. And I ended up working for the head of department of the CEO office. And then our chairman finished his tenure and a new chairman was coming in, and he wasn't bringing his PA, which I know is quite rare. So I took that as an opportunity to apply for that role. Which I got, and I ended up working for him for 5 years. And then his tenure ended and we got a new chairman, and I worked for him for just over a year as well. So after about 10 years there, I thought, okay, I've really done all I can do in the organisation. I've been at kind of the highest level for quite a while, and I thought, okay, maybe it's now time to get back out into industry. Which is when I then joined my current company, which is Ancura, which is a very small boutique management consultancy. So I work for the chairman, who looks after all of our European offices, Middle East, Asia and Australia. So it's quite a big role, which is nice. It's very international. And I also work for our head of HR, who looks after the same area as well. Brilliant. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, fantastic. So one thing that I've picked up on every conversation that I've had so far with in this series, if you like, is there was no kind of initial kind of thought to go to like secretarial college and get the secretarial qualifications to kind of go down that official road.
I did do that, actually.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. All right, fine.
Yeah, so when I left school, I wasn't going to go to university, and I realised that when I went to work in office, like, I didn't even know how to write a letter. I teach these things in school. So when everyone sort of had the big summer break before university, I actually went to secretarial college full time before I got the job in the mortgage brokers. Yeah,
good stuff.
And again, I think that gave me a great foundation to kind of know what to do.
Yeah, definitely. And how are you finding the kind of workload at the moment, over the last month or so? I mean, I guess working for one of the main people in HR is probably keeping you very busy.
Like both roles are really busy. Both of them have got a lot of phone calls, lots of, the chairman speaks to a lot of international people. So managing his diary is a bit more difficult because of the time difference. So obviously Australia at the moment is 11 hours difference, and then Singapore and Hong Kong's 8 hours, Dubai's 5 hours ahead. And we're actually a US owned company, so the US log on about 4 or 5 hours after us. So it's constantly got a lot going on and a lot to deal with, but I'm enjoying being busy, to be honest. It's actually quite a nice way of handling it because I am at home. I don't mind the time difference so much. So it's definitely different, and it's finding, I'm also, I work on the social and charity committee for Ancura, and obviously trying to find a different way of doing that while at home has been quite a challenge, but we've done a few different things.
Of course.
So there's been lots to keep you busy.
Good. And if we were to if we weren't in this situation as we're in now, and life was kind of normal, I know that probably no 2 days are the same, and things are very, very busy. But what does a kind of average week look like for you in terms of your duties, in terms of day to day? Are there things that kind of come up a little bit more than others? What gives an insight on the bits and pieces that you get involved with?
So it does really vary. quite used to my boss being away a lot because of our offices. So his travel schedule is normally really busy. I'm normally doing a lot of travel, but also I kind of get a break from him. Like we always make a joke that it's kind of like I can't wait for him to go away again, so I just get a little bit of time to myself.
Yeah.
So that has been very different because obviously I've had him every day since this has gone on, and it's been a lot more constant.
Yeah.
So that's been a real change, and it's something that I think is going to be a lot more going forward. We do a lot of stuff internationally as an office, and normally our guys and our consultants travel a lot, and I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
So it's been finding new ways to engage with people has been a big new one.
Yeah.
Whereas my old role would very much have been kind of doing a lot of travel itineraries for him, visas and ESTAs, and make sure he's got a lot of international meetings. For the HR, I do a lot of our new joiner meetings, induction people. And then I've got the charity side of things I do, and I also do events for the office as well. So I get like a real mixture normally in my role, which is nice. And day to day is probably the same as most EAs. It's the usual diary management, expenses, dealing with lots of people's queries. For me, it's dealing with clients. And just being a representation of my boss to the rest of the office. He's in meetings a lot, so I have to kind of answer as best I can on, I think that his answer would a lot of things would be.
Yeah, good stuff. Now, anybody that's kind of looked into you and what have you would have seen that you've been nominated for loads of awards and won loads of awards. Just talk us through what awards have you actually, what have you actually, can you remember them all?
I'm going to see if I can remember them all. So I've been nominated quite a lot. So I've been nominated for numerous London PA awards.
Yeah.
And I won the award for communication.
Yeah.
And then I've been nominated for quite a few Miss Jones PA awards as well.
Yeah.
I've won for outstanding achievement, and last year I was runner-up for networking as well.
Brilliant.
And I've also been nominated for PA Life Awards as well, and I've been runner-up for them. So
fantastic.
Quite a mixture.
Yeah.
It's quite nice because I've got the awards on my desk at work.
Yeah, good. Just to make sure everyone knows who they're dealing with as they come in. I like it. Yeah, I like that.
That's what I thought, when I first joined Ankura and I set up my desk.
Yeah.
My boss was having a good giggle because I was like, "Here's my award," and I put all my awards out, and I was like, just remember who you got working for you. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of being able to achieve them, and it's nice that for what we do in support roles, it is recognised.
Yeah,
definitely. That's really important.
100%. And again, this is something that comes up all of the time, and it comes up in all the conversations that I've been having on this series, is people saying about, in our day job, the number one reason people come to see us to look for a job is because they feel that they're not valued or recognised.
Yeah.
So it's great that the recognition is there, and people feel like they're being valued, and and have that reward piece. That I think it's vitally important. So with these awards, I know each one is individualized, but how do they come about? Were you nominated by your bosses or by fellow colleagues and stuff like that, or was it a kind of bit of everything, really?
It's a bit of everything. So I have been nominated by my boss before. With my chairman that I worked for 5 years, he nominated me for the London PA Awards, which was really fun. I have had colleagues do it, and I have also put myself forward for awards.
Okay.
Really important to have that self-belief and recognise what you do contribute.
Yeah.
And actually, lots of people can say you do a good job in support roles or thank you, but they don't always realise these awards even go on.
Yeah.
Don't feel like they deserve them, and you absolutely do. If you really do something that you've really gone out of your way to do, or if you just do your role really well, I really recommend putting yourself forward for these awards. You have to write a little bit about it and what you do, and they do get go to a panel that then get decided on who's listed and things. But I think it's really important to have that self-belief and think, actually, I do a really good job, and I would really love to win an award for what I do. Yeah. So for me, it's been a whole mixture.
I really like that, and I know that we set up an award ceremony ourselves back at, quite a few years ago now, and it was great to kind of be able to give something back and have so many people kind of have the spotlight shining on them. From somebody who has worked as a career EA for a long time, if there's people that are kind of listening into this to think to themselves, well, actually, yeah, I'd like to think that I can kind of take my career to the next level and start looking at stuff like that. What, first things first, what do you think would kind of separate an award-winning EA to perhaps me, hypothetically, who's just kind of doing, your average day-to-day job? What would be the kind of key differences, and what would be things for people to start thinking about to implementing in their day-to-day stuff?
I think for me, one of the key things is just to remember that you don't just work for one person. That's a mistake that a lot of EAs can make, and I know that I made it at the start of my career, where the person that you work for you think is the most important person, and obviously you want to please them, and that is part of the role, but you're also a representation for the organisation, and you're a representation for that office, and I think that's really, really important to remember. So I don't, as much as you can be a gatekeeper, you don't want to be a guard, and you don't want to stop people from getting there. You want to be kind of the walkway for people to get through to your boss and for you to be able to deliver messages. So I think that's a big part of it, is thinking, okay, I do my job really well and I really like working for my boss, or, I really do fulfill it, but what more can I do? So I've done quite a lot. I'll give you some examples, but I haven't done this all at once. So please don't anyone expect to do all of these things. But on almost every organisation I've been to, I've sat on the charity committee. I've done a lot of charity events. I've been involved in working directly with the charities and volunteering. I've done volunteering at schools. I've done talks to children at schools about how to do a CV and how to prep an interview. When you're 15, 16, you don't know what you're going to do, and you get expected to do an interview. You are quite lost. And I think we've got a knowledge of how things are run. And I used to teach them about testing that you would get done. I mean, you'll know all about this, Paul, but basic testing that you might get, and how you write your CV, and the sort of questions you might get in an interview. So kind of volunteering. I've also worked on quite a few projects. At my old company, I worked on a big HR project about promoting all of our development. We had a festival, should I say, Talent Fest. I ran, and that was for 5,000 people in the organisation. I also worked on, we moved offices from my old office to Stratford, my old company. And so I worked on one of the projects that looked at all the computing for that, and all of the devices that were needed, and software and those kind of things. So I sat on a project for that. I've done a lot of mentoring. I still do mentoring now. So I've done a lot of mentoring over the years, both internal and external. So, if you are really great at what you do, and you've got a passion for it, teach others. I think it's great to share your knowledge and teach other people. Just what to do well, but your mistakes. Everyone, it's good for people to learn from mistakes, and you can share. I've done some terrible things wrong in my career, and it's just about teaching others that, so hopefully they don't make the same ones. I also ran a committee at my old company, so I looked after all of the PAs and administrators for the whole of the organisation and arranged training for them. We had speeches, we had a fair every year. We looked at recruitment, all those kind of things. So I was very visible within the organisation, other than just working for the chairman. And it's the same now. I sit on the social committee at my new company. I sit on the environmental committee and the charity committee. And then I also work with HR quite closely. So as much as my role is EA to the chairman, that's not what the box that I stay in. I really try and do more than just that.
And I think that's, that kind of summarises it perfectly, what you've just said there. You've got your role, which, is your job title on your email footers and business cards and what have you. But realistically, that whole business knows you for wearing so many different hats with this. With this. And if you want to be in a position where you're going to get recognised and, and as we say, move to the next stage, it's about having that network of people who are seeing what you're doing all of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think also the benefits of that also lead back into your normal day-to-day job. There's so many things I've needed to do for the chairman that, because I've been sitting on projects, or because I've worked with other people in the organisation, I can pick up the phone. I'm like, oh, I need a favour because of this, or I look for opportunities that would be good for him as well. Yeah. So sitting on the charity committee at my current company and my old company, I would find volunteering opportunities for the chairman to join in with people that aren't directly his direct reports, and for him to network with others. Yeah. And you know, my old boss would go and do numeracy at one of the local schools once a month, and he would sit with young children, go through numeracy. And that's great, not just for him, but for how it's projected internally and externally. So all the things that I do, although a lot of it is self-fulfilling for me, it also helps me do my normal role.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, and you know, it crossovers perfectly. Yeah, I really like that background. We'll come to Lorna's question a little bit later on. Once
yeah, of course, Lorna.
Yeah, once we've finished chatting. But what I also wanted to ask you about was your public speaking and the bits and pieces that you do that are outside of, you know, the day-to-day job, and getting involved in that, because I know that it's a big, from the conversations that you and I have had, it's a big passion of yours.
Yeah.
You're a flag bearer for the EA community, and you know, I know this myself, having done lots of public speaking. It's hard, right? You know, initially it's difficult.
It's very hard.
It's difficult to put yourself out there. So I've got all respect for that. So how did that kind of come about? What do you do? And you know, the gigs, the talking that you do, what do you speak about? Just give us an insight into that.
So my first one, I have to say that again, this is something that's come with time. Yeah. I think my confidence in doing public speaking has come from my mentoring. It's given me a foundation to know what sort of questions people ask, what they want help on, that kind of thing. And once I'm kind of comfortable sharing with someone else, I'm now comfortable sharing with an audience, I would say. Because I think the big thing to remember with public speaking is you're talking about a topic that you know about. Talking about rocket science, I've got no idea what to say. It's something that I am confident in myself. So it's really having that remembering, I would say, that you know what you're talking about, because that's why you've been asked to speak. That would be probably a big sort of thing that I'd say. My first one, I was asked by Global PA Association, who I work with quite closely, to speak at the Office show, which I was so nervous about, but so excited. And I was like, I'm not going to turn down this opportunity because I'm nervous. So I did loads of prep, and a lot of it was kind of actually, for my first talk, talking about literally what we're doing today, my career history, and kind of how I've done more than just be an EA. So I did a couple of presentation training courses. Started there. Jenna Davis is great. She's on LinkedIn. She works at Birkbeck University, and she does training on public speaking. So if anyone wants any training, I really, really recommend her. She gave me a structure of how to do my presentation, which helped massively. So I kind of pulled that together, and then I was so nervous. And the worst thing that happened is that it snowed. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but it was a couple of years ago, and the snow was horrendous. I had to get from where I live to the Excel Centre, which is where it was at the time, not at Olympia. And so my slot, I think, was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and no trains were running, no transport was running. It was just the worst day. So I was up from like 6 a.m. trying to get there, and I thought, okay, let me just wear a tracksuit, wear shoes kind of thing, and take my clothes with me. And I was so flustered, it took me hours to get there. I almost missed my slot. That by that point, I couldn't even be nervous, because I'd got there. That was my biggest achievement. So I literally ran to the bathroom, got my clothes on, and ran on stage, kind of just so quick. I thought my nerves went, because I was like, okay, well, like, I'm here now, so I'm just gonna have to get on with it. And actually, I always think, I still get nervous public speaking, but I would say that the first minute is the most nervous. You look out at the audience and you have to kind of introduce yourself, and you think, oh God, does anyone really want to hear what I have to say? It's that whole panic. And once you kind of do that bit, you get flowing, and it's okay. And once you see the nods in the audience, and you can see if people are engaged, it kind of, it becomes enjoyable. And I really like it now. And I've obviously been asked to do quite a few different speaking engagements at this point. And I've spoken across the country, which has been amazing, because I think we're really lucky in London, and we forget this sometimes, of how many training things we have, how many different providers, how many different networks, and they don't have that across the country. I've been to Newcastle to do a speech. I've been to Bristol as well, and they have nothing like this.
Yeah.
So for them to have a speaker is really like a big deal.
Yeah.
And yes, I've spoken about doing, you know, becoming a company asset, doing more than just your role. I've spoken about communicating with confidence. I've got a speech at the moment that I'm putting together, but unfortunately we had to cancel it because of COVID. About 90 days with a new boss and how to establish yourself in that way. I've done a speech about business developing business support staff and different ways to develop them. Yeah, so kind of all different topics, but again, everything that I've worked on myself and I know what to say, kind of thing, and hopefully people like what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of the things that you've just mentioned there. I remember talking to you a couple of months back about the 90 days with your new boss, and you were telling me about that actually. So it's a shame that all these things are kind of going by the wayside. It looks like the stuff that I was due to be doing over the next few months is going to go the same way. But what can we do, I guess? So, you know, listening to the way that you talk about these things, and listening to, you know, the bits, you know, the levels of preparation and the various different topics. Is this something that you want to focus on perhaps a little bit more in the years to come? Is this an avenue?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get you in trouble with your current role. I don't want
no, he knows.
You know, but is this something that you kind of have got desires to look at on perhaps a little bit more of a regular, permanent basis over the years to come?
Yeah, definitely. I think I would really love to do a lot more speaking, and I've done quite a few interviews for articles and stuff, which is great. And obviously you kindly interviewed me. I think that's about a month ago now. So I really would love to do more of this. I think it's quite challenging. There's a lot of competition out there. There's lots of different avenues on how to do it, and it's just, I don't want to oversaturate the market with myself, but I really, really love to speak, and I want to go more into going into organisations specifically and doing talks. So that's kind of my passion. And I actually was very honest with my boss when I joined my new company at the interview, and I told him, look, this is something that I do on the side and to be able to continue it. So I need your support, because that's what I would be doing. And he was more than happy to support it. He thinks it's a great thing that I do. He sees it as a promotion for our company as well, that he is behind it.
I was gonna say, the first thing, you know, if one of our staff at Strictly's was to say to me, this is what I want to do, I'm going to be behind it 100% of the way. Promotion for the business. The business
and it's part of my own development as well. It's, you know, I'm developing my communication skills, I'm developing my presentation skills, all of which are transferable back to my day job.
100%.
So I'm very honest like that, and I thought I'd tell him straight away in the interview, because I don't want to be sneaky or for it to suddenly come up and be a problem. So I told him up front.
Definitely. It's interesting what you say about the market, but you know, the market being saturated, and there's a lot of people out there that are doing it. I would say, you know, I would agree with that. And there's a lot of people that you know, say, oh, I'm a coach, I'm a developer, I'm a mentor, I'm public speaker, what have you. But you can only really bring true value if you've got a really solid amount of experience to fall back on. And
I think people have to engage with it. I mean,
definitely,
I won't throw any names out there, but I've seen some great topics presented and some useful information, but I wasn't engaged in the talk at all. So although I could take some notes down, and there were some things that, like, helpful hints and tips, if the person's not engaging, you kind of start switching off, and it's not, you know, it's just not, some people, I think it's not for everyone.
Totally agree.
But it's just something that I love to do, and hopefully people like to hear me.
Well, I'm listening to you now. I'm sure people do. So I'm going to say to everybody, if you've got some questions, we've already got one through from Lorna, which we'll come to in a second. So if you've got, we've got some more coming through, so we'll come to these.
Thank you so much, everyone.
But before we just kind of wrap up and go to those questions, you know, you've had a great career, and you know, you've got to a very senior level. You've worked for lots of different people and seen lots of different scenarios. What advice would you be giving to yourself, kind of, you know, 10, 15 years ago, and what advice would you give to other EAs and PAs to kind of, you know, something that you've learned from the experience that you've that you've had over the last few years?
A couple of things. I think one of the big things is if you get kicked back, don't take it so badly. Like I've kind of said, that there was a couple of jobs in my career that I weren't what I applied for, but I kind of did it anyway. And I think that, you know, sometimes with what we do, it's really about demonstrating your skill set. So just not ideally what you want, think of, you know, can it still get you in the doorway? Don't take it so badly. I think there's a lot of competition as well out there. So if you don't get a role, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that competition is quite difficult and maybe someone's a better fit. It's really important to remember with the EA role, it's about chemistry. It's not just being great at what you do. I've had interviews with people before and really nice people, but I was like, we haven't got that chemistry. It's not going to work. And it's nothing bad about me or them. There's just not the chemistry there. And I think that's a really key thing. And a big thing that I'm an advocate for, and I still am, is just to keep learning. Don't think that just because you've been in EA for a long time, you know everything. It's really, really important to keep learning. I am always studying. I am always learning. I've done a lot of qualifications. I'm going to keep doing them because technology is moving so quickly and they keep talking about AI taking our roles and this and that. And the only way that you're really going to stay above it all is to make sure you're up to date with everything. You know, they're constantly releasing new versions of Word, new versions of Outlook, new versions of all these different things. And I really think that it's important to do that and to expand your qualifications. I've just seen Lorna said, what qualifications would I recommend? I would recommend starting with the foundations. So I spoke earlier about I did secretarial college. I really would recommend that for everyone, or something similar. So an EA course, I've done a leadership course with the executive PA kind of management skills. Can touch type, which I think for me is one of my biggest things because I'm so fast. I've done it, and recently my new role, my boss was like really big on PowerPoint, and I've used it in the past, but I'm not a huge PowerPoint user. So before I started the job, I did a PowerPoint diploma online just so that I could kind of back up what I said to him, that yes, I can do this. But I've now done that so that, you know, I've done it. I've done my Prince 2 project management, which again, over time, I started working on a lot of projects. I was like, okay, I want to do a qualification in this now. Done the presentation training I spoke about earlier. And most recently, I've been doing a lot of HR qualifications. So I've got my level 2 diploma in HR and advanced diploma. And now I'm working on, I haven't started it yet, but I'm doing the diploma in UK employment law and an operations management diploma as well. So just kind of really giving basically everything that you do in your day job, just getting a qualification on it. Really just constantly learning.
And maxing it out to the maximum you possibly can. Look, that's great. I normally finish off by asking what the kind of hopes and dreams are for the future. I think we kind of covered it. We covered it a little bit with the kind of presentations and stuff. Is there anything else that you would add to that, as to kind of finish up before questions?
I think for me, for the future, I would really love to just kind of continue being an advocate for business support staff. I like to say business support. I hate saying admin. I think it's just demeaning a little bit, and I really would love the industry to really recognise us more as business support. We support one person, we support the business as a whole, and this is, you know, the cogs don't work if we're not there. You know, management can sometimes all take a day off to go on leadership training, and it's fine. The organisation runs fine. If we all took a day off and went on training, they would all panic. It's really about remembering that you're an important part of the organisation and you are the people that make it work, and that's what I'm passionate about, and about getting that message out there.
Brilliant. Well, look, I know for a fact of I'm not a business support professional. I'm not PA or EA myself, but I'm kind of really.
You're an ally.
I'm a big ally, and you know, it's been my career, and I know that looking at the industry from a wider perspective, I know that you are a real flag bearer for it. You're very well respected, and you're doing a great job. So well done, keep it up. And
thank you.
So thank you for talking to us. We really appreciate it. I think you've given us a really good insight, and we've already had some really good compliments already. So just some questions to kind of throw at you now, kind of take it back to Lorna's question. She's obviously referring to the awards and what have you. So what's the kind of, I know that all the awards are different, right? So so what would you say to kind of on average, what are the average criteria and on average, how are they normally measured?
It's quite difficult because they don't always tell you, like they don't tell you in advance. So kind of writing your submission is not easy to know what they're looking for, but they're done in different styles. So some of them you just have to write a bit about yourself. Some of them have specific questions. And then what they tend to do from that is they would then put it into different categories. So depending on what you talk about, be like, I talk a lot about, for one of them, I've talked a lot about being part of different networks, you know, and my public speaking, etc. So that put me into the networking category for the nomination, if that makes sense. So it does depend. Some of them you can pick which ones you want to nominate yourself for. There's no specific criteria that I'm aware of. However, I think it is really about promoting what you do and what makes a difference to the business. So I don't really speak about, I mean, I do a small intro paragraph on what I do. So, you know, I'm a PA, I do diary management, I do travel, etc. But that's almost like what all of us do. So if you're going to nominate yourself or someone's going to nominate you, make that really small and just like, this is what I generally do as my day to day. And go on to how you've exceeded that role. So where you go above and beyond. So I might say, I've worked on, one of them I said I worked on a board away day for my old company. And I actually saved the company over 4 years, over £50,000 on arranging that from how it used to be arranged to the network. So that's something I can monetarily say has made a difference to the organisation. Same with charity work. I worked on a charity committee. We raised over £20,000 one year for our chosen charity, and the specific event that I worked on raised the most amount of money, which was £5,000. Those are ways of really showing more of what you do than just the kind of EA role. So it might be when you've gone, I don't have a personal example of this, but something might be where you've gone completely out your way for your boss. So, well, I do kind of have an example. So when I've arranged his travel, on a Saturday, one of his flights was cancelled and I was at a wedding. So I had to pop home and change his flights. Nothing else was flying from Edinburgh at the time. I had to get him a car across to Glasgow and flight from Glasgow home and then sort out his train to get back to his wife because they were going out for dinner. So that's kind of where I didn't just arrange his travel, I did something more than that. So it's really just about finding ways of showing where you've gone above and beyond. And you've all got examples. Don't ever think that you don't. You definitely do. It's just about pinpointing them and bringing them out and really go into detail about how you went out of your way.
Brilliant stuff. Another question here is asking about what the challenges you faced you know, over the last month or so, and how have you overcome these challenges?
I think there's been a few. Everyone adjusting to working from home has obviously been a challenge, I think, for all. I think a big one for me has been encouraging video calls. So a lot of people before, I would have just done a Skype or like a quick phone call, but actually, because you're not seeing anyone, that face-to-face contact makes such a difference. And it's really about encouraging sort of video calls. I've personally found difficult is that I live on my own. So yes, it's great in the sense of I can really focus on work, but I don't have, you know, someone to have lunch with, or, you know, that company that you want to have a coffee with someone and that kind of thing. So it's mentally been more difficult on me, I would say. And I know I'm not the only one in that boat. I think there's a lot of people that it's quite daunting being at home all the time now because you are on your own. So for me, I have tried to do lots of virtual coffees or drinks with colleagues as well as with friends. I've made sure, other than this week because of the weather, I've gone for long walks every day just to get out and about and to really sort of get in nature and really make sure I'm exercising. I've joined some meditation classes. So you've probably seen on LinkedIn, lots of people have been doing lots of different things, and I've joined a meditation class every day. A couple of there's been desk yogas and other things that I've kind of joined in with. Make sure my well-being and my mental health is also looked after. You know, it's not all about the business, how the business is coping. It's about else. Make sure you do put yourselves first.
100%.
And take breaks. That was the thing I noticed first. So I actually started to self-isolate before everyone else because my boss came back from Australia and someone in the Australian office's sister had it or something. There was like a trail.
Yeah.
So we self-isolated almost straight away, he and I, because we obviously sit next to each other.
Yeah.
So I've actually been self-isolated since the 11th of March. So I've been doing it sooner than everyone else.
Yeah.
And it has been quite difficult. And initially I was just working. And because we would talk to Australia a lot, I was up at like 6, 7 in the morning and then working till like 7 at night because of the US office. I wasn't taking a break. And it was after the first week of doing that, me and my boss had a conversation about how's it been going. And then COVID got bigger and everyone was going to have to start working from home. And I was like, one thing that we really need to promote with our staff is taking a break. I have not been having coffee breaks. I haven't been having lunch breaks. I've just been carrying on.
Yeah.
Now I quite consciously put time in my diary, and at 12 o'clock, I go away from my laptop for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll watch TV or I'll do something around the house, but I will make sure I'm away from it. Yeah. And in the evenings, I tend to go for my walks quite late. I tend to do like 4-ish because there's less people out. So I'll make a point of going at 4 and coming back at 5 and then catching up on my work then, because everyone, if you were in the office, you would take natural breaks anyway.
Definitely, yeah, 100%. And it's funny that journey that you've just been on there. I think from my perspective, I've kind of had the opposite to that. Initially, it was quite difficult, kind of getting into the flow of working. But now I'm finding, me personally, the workload is just phenomenal. I'm almost busier now than I am in the office with all the bits and pieces that we've got going on. So. That's something that I think I need to start introducing is having those breaks.
Yeah.
So the Prince 2 qualifications, it's notoriously quite difficult. Did you find it difficult to pass?
It was not to pass. It was quite difficult. One thing I would say with the Prince 2 or any project management is do not do it online. Make sure you go and do the classes, because I thought about doing it online. I thought, oh, it'll be easier to struggle with work, etc., etc. And you need to put yourself first and your learning first. Really glad I did the class. So I actually did it, not the Christmas just gone, the Christmas before, which I know is a really random time.
Yeah.
I was kind of, the foundation is 3 days. So I was kind of thinking, when can I get 3 days at the office where it's not really going to have an impact? But, well, at Christmas, we're really quiet. My boss was going on leave anyway. Yeah. So I actually did it about 4 days before Christmas. I went for this 3-day course, and it was very interesting, actually. I would say that I was in a room with probably about 10 people. But I was the only executive assistant. I was the only kind of business support person. Quite a lot of them were project managers already, and a few were kind of more office managers, event managers. And considering I thought I would fill out my depth, I didn't at all. Yeah. And people that were already project managers, none of them had done the project management qualification. Yeah. So we're kind of all in the same boat. Yeah. There is quite a lot to read, there is homework to do, so you really need to find a time that you can focus on it, because in the evenings you need to do lots of reading as well. Yeah. But if you find a good class and a good teacher, you can really get it done, and it's not difficult to pass. It's just more, you have to be focused. So you can't be coming home in the evenings and quickly logging onto your laptop and doing work. You really need to find a time that you can focus on it. But I would really recommend it.
Okay, good stuff. And last couple of bits and pieces. Do your company pay for the extra qualifications, or do you pay for them yourself?
It's a mixture. So the ones that I'm doing at the moment, I pay for myself, because obviously I've not been in my company that long. I've been there about 8-9 months now. Yeah. My previous company paid for my Prince 2 and a couple of others, but it's about finding a mixture. I think, if they're going to pay for it, they want you to write a business case as to why it's important, etc. And some of them I've done because I'm interested in them, so I'm happy to pay for myself. So I think it's about finding that balance, really, of what would work for you. But it is important to put your learning first. And there's also lots of deals on learning. I mean, my PowerPoint one I did on Reed, found an international qualification that was reduced to about £20 for just 24 hours. Yeah. So quick, let's do that. Yeah. So you can find good deals online. I would say make sure you research the actual academy that you're going to get the qualification from, because lots of them aren't proper qualifications. They're just a certificate to say you did this. Yeah. So do a bit of research, but there are deals out there that you can find. I do a lot of stuff through New Skills Academy, and they aren't too expensive. They can have deals on. And also go through your PA networks. Yeah. Quite a lot of them have people that they work with that will give you a discount, or Global PA Academy, I do a lot of their training,
Yeah.
and it's not crazy expensive. It's like a couple of £100 maybe.
Definitely. There's so many in this moment. There's so many offers and deals on
100%.
training courses and what have you. There's loads out there. There's absolutely loads out there that could that people can jump onto.
Yeah.
So look, I'm conscious of the time because we always promise that it's half an hour. Do you think that you could? What would be the last question? Just kind of summarize it as best you possibly can. What would be your top interview tip? Top interview tips, rather than kind of not thinking about the chemistry and constantly learning. Apart from those, what would be your top interview tip?
So a couple of mine, I've done a lot of interviewing other people, so I kind of know what answers I want them to get.
Yeah.
So really listen to the question and make sure you answer the question. Don't go off on a tangent. Take your time and breathe, and then make sure you've got lots of different examples. I like variety. So when I'm interviewing someone, I don't want them to constantly say diary management. That's not a big enough example for me. I want lots of variety. So I think when you're interviewing, make sure you do a bit of prep. You come with a couple of bullets. I think people feel really uncomfortable sometimes going with notes. I wouldn't have whole notes, but I think a couple of bullets as a reminder.
Yeah.
So it might be like my bullets for me would be charity, volunteering, board, projects, and mentoring. They might be my 5 bullets that I remember, those other things that I want to talk about as well as my day-to-day job. So yeah, I think it's those kind of things that you can really, again, same as the awards, really express what you do. That's really amazing, and how you've made a difference.
Fantastic. We could talk for ages, to be fair. And I think
anyone can message me if they want to ask me any more questions through LinkedIn. I'm very happy to help.
Good stuff. And listen, whilst we've been talking, I've had a couple of ideas for future webinars that perhaps we could put together for the community. So
I would love to. Yeah,
perhaps I'll give you a call and we'll have a chat about that a bit later on. Some different ideas that I've just had running through my mind, because we've got quite a few people on here. So it seems that people like the message that you portray, and everybody's being really thankful for your time. So
good. I hope everyone found it helpful, and I'm really thankful that everyone logged on and joined us.
Yeah, definitely. So look, I'll take this opportunity to say thank you on behalf of everyone, Danielle. It's been absolute pleasure talking to you, and
thank you so much.
We'll talk again in more detail very soon. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yep, and everyone stay safe. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Danielle.
Bye.
See ya.